to Aindra's deity seminar on dressing the deities in Mayapur. Very amazing. I had that one of my good opportunities was to assist him, kind of like the nurse to the surgeon, scalpel, suture, and this, and know when he wanted to have it. Come on the altar and prepare everything. And so what I've got from any and all of this, that if you want to please Krishna, then chant Hare Krishna to elicit Krishna's satisfaction. So we don't want to be long-winded. We want to give opportunity for as many others as possible to share their realizations. But somehow I'm here speaking because I had the good fortune to have so much of his association. But let me conclude by saying that Aindra was asked to speak in one of the first disappearances for His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And of association with it is that you take their instructions to heart as your life and soul. He was trying to encourage those devotees not to lose heart that their spiritual master had departed. So it's the same with every great authorized acharya and personality that Srila Prabhupada's 1936 Vyasa Puja poem gave us a life full of grace. This is your miracle, your divine grace. That you live in the instruction of the spiritual master, of the acharya and the pure devotee. And not only do you continue to advance in devotional service, but your relationship and association with that departed Vaishnava simply increases in confidentiality and in all variety of ecstatic beatitude. So we utilize what we have. Acharyas weren't like that you have to go and study and get some type of material qualification to be able to do devotional service. Whatever you've been given, you use it in the Lord's service. So we've taken our birth in this New York City, and we're not so much repulsed by it as many others are. We can take it, we can tolerate it. And so we've been trying to pick up from where he left off here in 1986 and keep daily Harinam Sankirtan going here in New York City. And any good that has been done, that's come out of it, and it's simply just my attempt to somehow or another show some gratitude for this wonderful gift that I've been given by the Lord, to have such association of such an advanced and powerful and sincere devotee, representative of the Sankirtan movement. And as Krishna's instructions are forever, the instructions of those who are surrendered to Krishna is forever. And we're seeing how, I was just talking with devotees in Vrindavan, every single man on that Kirtan party now never had Aindra's association. But their enthusiasm and dedication to the mission there is extremely inspiring. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Happy Marsh had to leave. So I think, well, let's give preference to those who had Aindra's association, starting with Bhima. Sit here.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm really happy to be here. And I didn't have a lot of association with Aindra, and that's my fault. And I have a lot of sadness, actually. We all have our difficulties to rise up to the ideals that are put in front of us as Vaishnavas. And we all have the gift of some of those pains that we have at seeing the ways that we didn't rise up to the opportunities that we've had. And so on this day, I'm remembering some of my shortcomings and not taking advantage in the way that I would have liked to of his association. And I remember the first time I came to Vrindavan, I had been, and for those of you who don't know, my mother and father were Prabhupada disciples, and so when I was coming into my teenage years, 16 and 17, I had actually been away from the movement for many years. Well, to me that time many was 6 years, because it was the dark times. I was born about 11 months before she was on the planet, and so literally that I can say like the dark time that came across ISKCON that we all had to rise from. And so it hit my family no less than any other. And one of the things that really started to enthuse me when I started coming back around temples was, I had my Walkman, these, puffy, plastic headphones, whatever. And the first time I started hearing the Vrindavan Mellows tapes coming out, I was like going crazy. I was like, wow, this is the most amazing thing like ever. In growing up in Gurukul, you've probably heard it also, but Mridanga was the one shining light that I had in my life. And I lost that connection a lot during those 6 years of being apart, but when I started hearing these Aindra kirtans coming back, kind of through these headphones, I was just like, any time I wasn't doing something else, I had those headphones on listening to them, and I just loved it. I loved every minute of it, and it inspired me, and it took me a few years to finally make my way to India for the first time in 1999. And when I arrived in Vrindavan, and I remember the first time sitting down for kirtan, and I didn't really know that Aindra was the person on the cassette somehow or another, whatever, but I remember sitting down for kirtan, and I got to be the mridanga player, and it was pretty far out, and he strapped his harmonium up on his shoulder after we got going for a good 10 minutes, and we danced back and forth, he was doing all the knees up in the air and all the whole thing, back and forth for a good hour there, and Govinda was like, he doesn't usually do that, you do good, yeah. So I was like, all right, wow. And he said, who are you? Where are you coming from? And I told him I had come to India to study Mridanga. He's like, you don't need to study Mridanga. You don't have to play Mridanga. Just do it in kirtan. You're just going to kirtan will teach it to you. And I've always been, for those of you who know me, I'm a bit of a stickler, and I like to do things, like the way and so on and so on. And that was, but we're all coming from our own angles, And over the years, as the kirtan, the new wave of kirtan scene started to develop, that amazing potent vibration that he was putting around all over the world, that kirtan, I think we can all attest to, it just stunned us all, right? It was just a singular new light that kind of came across us, doing kirtan, with such exuberance, such, musical creativity, such ananda and bliss coming out of it, from all spectrums. It was great. And as it developed, my response, unfortunately, was to shrink away. We all, let me just calm down for a second. we all carry our burdens from our past and so on, and sometimes we can all tend to react in more simplistic ways and less mature ways, with more, undeveloped childish emotion, right, and less wisdom that we earn by being responsible and learning how to, in a more mature way, be part of a community and so on. And so my response was, I tended to shrink away. I argued with him that, these guys, they're going over to this, other guy, and it's like you're bringing sewer water into the kirtan. I even use those words of like, going to these guys who are like Saki Benkis and Ashtabadi kirtan style and bringing that stuff in. And he said, well, these are guys that are coming around, and these guys that Krishna gave me to work with, and so that's what we're doing. So just get in there, and But my response was to shrink away, and because of that, I deprived myself of many years that I was living in Vrindavan there. I came for kirtan here and then. I played for him a lot of times in the mornings when he would dress Srimati Radharani, and there was like that little 15-20 minute window when he would come and sing kirtan for her right after he had dressed them. And then at nighttime sometimes, or basically I was kind of like, I made myself sort of a wallflower. And it's an immense loss for me, but it's also it's a gift for all of us. When as soon as we rise up to the stage of taking on our responsibility in our Vaishnava Sangha, it glorifies all of our losses and our victories just the same. A victory isn't a victory so long as we're not actually engaged in devotional service. And a loss is even a victory when we're engaged in devotional service. And at any time when we take up that mantle of our own personal responsibility, that's what it is. And so I'm at once, saddened that I didn't get to take more. But I at the same time, I'm super happy. We did have many, talks in his room alone, because I just like that kind of, alone sort of time, And I tend to shy away from, big groups and, popularity contests and stuff like that. Although that's also part of devotional service. But I'm really grateful for those times that I had in his room alone, talking and conversing. And he was certainly one of the most important figures of being raised in ISKCON in that dark period, where it's dark just because it was so simplistic and basic. It's either completely this or it's completely that, and devotional service is not about that. It's all-encompassing. It's a flood that fills our entire lives, and he really opened my eyes to that with his very candid, personal way of speaking and being with me as at once just a completely available, straightforward human being in person, and at the same time, as much as he was able to joke and make offhanded comments and slap you on the back, he could also say the most profound things based on right and Shastra, have his, to all of us at that time perhaps were outlandish opinions, and those were very entertaining as well. I'm at the same time sad, and at the same time very happy, and thanking Krishna and all of you, to be able to have these moments that I have in me, and may his association and the vibration that he brought by becoming the person that he did, by being the person that he was, shine inside of us all and inspire us all to rise up and take our own place and responsibility in this amazing, great Sankirtan. Aindra Prabhu ki jai.
Receive Mohan, would you like to speak? Representative. We're not praying Pradeep. We actually just met. He's the son of Rajendra Nandana. And your mother's name is
Gopanandini.
Gopanandini. And they were all in this temple. We were all in the temple together back in the 80s with Aindra. So,
Hare Krishna. Guru Vegaura Chandra Radhika Hare Krishna Krishna Bhakta Tadbhakta Pragyani Tamanamasa Gyana Shlaka Chakshuram Tamjena Tasma Shri Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Prabhu Pranam. Thank you for this opportunity. I feel a little bit shy to be here. speaking before so many great Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, but also very honored to have this opportunity to glorify the Lord's very dear devotee, Sripad Aindra Prabhu. Since childhood, I also remember growing up hearing so many of his wonderful kirtans in Davin Mellows, as Bhima Karmapu was speaking of. And also just, it's so important to have festivals like this to understand that the kirtan traditions that we see, you can look on YouTube and see so many different devotees and millions of views on their kirtans, and this is all coming from like a reawakening of this kirtan, Sankirtan movement coming from Sankirtan performed at Krishna Balaram Mandir by Sripad Aindra Prabhu. Just last night we were doing a kirtan, so ecstatically, and Aindra Prabhu kirtan. And for growing up, and you can see so many amazing, it's actually really special to see so many of the youth kind of stepping forward to preserve and carry on the legacy of kirtan, also with the vision of our Gaudiya Guru Varga, our Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and all our Vaishnava Acharyas, that this is a movement that is for everyone. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that I'm seeing that day when all different creeds, all people of all backgrounds will come together like rivers into the ocean of the one dharma of the age, Yuga Dharma Nam Sankirtan. This is our Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. Katiranyata Sripad Aindra Prabhu really epitomized living the Shastra, Bhakta Bhagavat. What does it mean to be a Bhakta Bhagavat? Also, it's very rare, we see like that, the living example of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prediction, Srila Mahaprabhu's prediction. Prithiviti Achi Jatanagaradi Gram Savatra Prachar Hoitin Muranam. That in every town and village my names shall be sung. And they shall be sung by devotees of every town and village as well. If they are to be sung in every town and village, it will be by the people of every town and village. And so we're seeing that prediction come to pass by having festivals where devotees of all backgrounds come together to celebrate Krishna Nam. And so it's very beautiful to see that, and I'm very honored to be able to serve in that divine mission of Srimad Mahaprabhu and our Acharyas, or Srila Prabhupada, all our Vaishnava Acharyas. And so Sripad Aindra Prabhu, that idea of it just takes one person who really says that I'm going to offer this body, whatever it is, we say a lump of ignorance, but that actually is a lump of gold, it's a touchstone if you offer it in Krishna's service. This is the Shastra, Yata Kanchanatam. The process of bhakti is the alchemical process through which iron turns into a touchstone. But how? Tana Mana Vachana. By offering our body, mind, and words. Dehi Dulasitila, Deya Samarapinu, Dhoya Jani Nacho Devi Moy. Tuhu Jagannath, oh Lord, oh Krishna, oh Jagannath. When I look at myself, Ganaita Dhosha Gunaleshana Pavi, I look at myself, I don't see any good qualities, only faults. But you are Jagannath. You're so merciful that when I offer myself to you, you accept that offering. And if we can give ourselves in that offering, then we truly become. It takes one person to ignite a wave, a new wave of this Sankirtan movement in this dark age of Kali. The dark ages, they are not something that happen at a period or go away. It's the dark age of Kali. But it's the Vaishnavas, like Sripad Aindra Prabhu, like our Srila Prabhupada, like our Vaishnava Acharyas. It's those Vaishnavas that bring light to this dark age. That's why Sometimes people say, oh, the dark age of Kali, it's very difficult to live in this time. But that's a more beautiful setting for the golden moon of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his movement. The more dark the night, the more beautiful the golden moon when it rises. And so, Vaishnavas like Sripad Aindra Prabhu, by living a life of completely offering oneself in that movement of Mahaprabhu, Harir Nam Eva Kevalam, it is the only way. And then when you offer your life in that service, as the devotees in New York City Harinam, led by Ram Roy Prabhu, are doing, we offer pranam to that, because understanding that everything is bringing us into that ocean of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan Yuga Dharma. The book distribution is bringing us towards Kirtan. Meeting people in the street, giving out prasadams, everything is bringing devotees towards performing Harinam Sankirtan. And so, how important it was when you watch and hear the videos of Sripad Aindra Prabhu speaking Harikatha, how much he emphasized the purity of following the process. And understanding, if you read his The Heart of Book Distribution, that everything is going towards that one point, that one laser focus. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada writes that a greater charitable act than opening millions of hospitals is saving one soul from the clutches of Maya. And so all of what we are doing, Nam Sankirtan, Sadhu Sangha, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathuravas, Sadhu Sangha, everything is trying to help ourselves go further in Krishna consciousness, as well as help uplift others. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, there's no more dear activity to me than helping, as Ram Roy Prabhu was speaking, helping the jivas come closer to Krishna through the process of Nam Sankirtan, following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching, Shikshastakam, and understanding the importance of Harinam Sankirtan through japa. In Harinam Chintamani, Srila Haridas Thakur speaks, we do japa. But Haridas Thakur would chant 1 lakh Harinam very loudly. And he would go with Mahaprabhu. Not going to take so much time. I'm offering my pranam today to Lotus Feet of Sripad Aindra Prabhu and to all the assembled devotees, to Srila Prabhupada, and praying just for a chance that I can also endeavor to offer my body, mind, and words in this grand movement of Mahaprabhu, in this Sankirtan movement, with this broadness of vision of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that we have this idea where the rivers meet, meaning people of all backgrounds, of all faiths, everyone can come together in this universal church of Sankirtan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur called this the world church. He said, I predict that day when everyone will come and join together in that worldwide church of Harinam Sankirtan. And so today, I offer pranam to Sripad Aindra Prabhu, Prabhupada, and all the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Vanchakapatari, Vishwavas, Vishwav, Dhanam, Bhavamyo, Vaishnavyo, Namo Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Rasif Sahu, for very heartfelt, profound words, particularly emphasizing the purity of the chanting. Chanting Hare Krishna is for everyone. Was the residents of Kulina Gram, who is an actual Vaishnava, one who chants Hare Krishna just once, is the best person in the group. That's all well and good, but to actually come to the highest position, one must be perfectly a Kinchana Gochara, Kinchana Vaishnava, completely free from all material desires. So Aindra Prabhu, he was chanting 2 lakhs of Nam every day, 116 rounds every day, and during special occasions, which sometimes were like, if there was Purushottam month, along with Chaturmas that year, and Aindra would put Katyayani Brat at the end of Chaturmas, so that's 6 months of we did the appearance day in April in the Balaram Hall. That's the basement, but there's a tirtha you can visit. There's the lotus room, and there's the closet, which is painted metallic silver. So that was Aindra's office. He didn't sleep there, but it was like his office, and that's where he started performing Chaturmas in 1983 in that room. Also, the posts that surround Radha Govinda's altar on left and right that now have Oriental gopis, glass panels mounted on it. Aindra built that. He was also in Vishvakarma. He was amazing with, woodwork, with electrical work. He would, he could play stringed instruments. That's what he was primarily before he joined. And there's the story of how, in between offering all 7 offering and artiques to Nitai Gaur Sundar, where he found himself at the end of the Radha Damodar days in 1978, he would just take we're sorry we didn't supply a better harmonium. We'll remember that the next time. The rickety temple harmonium, and just with one finger, figured out how to but Aindra would write and paint with his left hand. I have very beautiful Govardhan Shilas that Aindra painted, which we've had now for 25 years, and he painted them with his left hand. So it was quite an amazing, quite a genius. So when asked, why do you do all of these things? He said, I just want to be 100% sure. I'm such a fallen soul that I have to do everything to the extreme so that I can hope to get some mercy from Radha Shyama. So the Harinam is for everyone. This Sankirtan, what is it? This it awakens all varieties of devotional service, Lord Chaitanya says in Shastra. But there'll be different levels of practitioners. So those who want to actually follow in the footsteps of Aindra Prabhu should take into account and consider very seriously his very exemplary practice of sadhana bhakti. Don't think that this, what does Narottam say in Prema Bhakti Chandrika? The mango example, that sadhana bhakti is not different than Prema Bhakti. It's just one hasn't ripened yet. All right, Kamras, would you like to please make your glorification? In the first year that after the first year that Aindra left in 2010 and 11, I was hoisted and thrust against my will. I'm not a manager, I'm more like kind of airy, ethereal, esoteric kind of person, not like a hands-on brass tacks manager. And so we were there together that first year, 24-hour year.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So for my respects to Sripad Aindra Prabhu today, I was thinking a little bit about, on these days of the disappearances of these wonderful Vaishnavas, what do we think about? And for Aindra Prabhu, I think a lot about his determination. Just like in Potomac, when he was a newer devotee, Prabhupada only told him Jai, right?
I only got one word of instruction from my spiritual master, Jai. In my attempt to perform Harinam Sangha, but that one word carried great potency to inspire me for my whole life.
Yes.
You can look on the following Prabhupada, the Everything Moving video of Prabhupada put together by Yadavar Vishaka Prabhu's, and he's speaking his realization of Prabhupada's 76 Potomac, which I believe is DVD number 10 or 11.
So Prabhupada only said the word Jai to him, And through that, he was, that was the catalyst and kind of carried him all throughout his spiritual life, which is really amazing. Sometimes we complain that, oh, I didn't, my Guru Maharaj hasn't said anything to me. But for him, Jai was the only thing that kept him going. And that's just amazing to me. And I'm meditating on that what was his determination? It was like a very fiery kind of determination. Even in his appearance, he had red hair, and he was a very very intense but intensely devotional, intensely determined, enthusiastic devotee when he did everything. And so even the 5 angas of bhakti, the Panchanga bhakti, he perfected all 5 of those angas. Chanting the holy names, as we know, so many devotees are so basically enthusiastic and motivated, and he basically inspired everyone all over the world by his chanting of the holy names. And then living in the holy dham, he lived in the holy dham for 27 years without leaving. He didn't leave. He didn't come. He basically took Indian citizenship. Finally got Indian citizenship, and he lived there and did not move from there. The Bhagavatam, Deva, 4,000 or whatever 1,000 shalagrams that he had, he wanted more Sham in his life. He wanted more black in his life because he reminded him of his Sham Sundar. And so that's Namdam Didi Bhagavatam devotee, devotional associating with devotees. As I said, in his room, how he associated with the devotees and gave so many classes and inspired so many people. So that was his determination to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions of Jai, to keep the holy name going. And we see how his inspiration has just exploded all over the world, especially here in New York City. Because of the New York City Harinam, there's so many devotees coming from all over the world trying to be a part of that. And that's because of his grace and his mercy and his determination that we're all able to, try to do that. If I could relay some funny story that I remember, in 2002, I went to visit Vrindavan, and I was just a young kid, 17 years old, and I had come and Aindra Prabhu was doing a kirtan, and the fan on the other side where Srila Prabhupada was blowing. There was a large fan, and while he was singing, he didn't want that fan blowing on him. So he told the chowkidar to turn it off. But then somehow a few minutes later, it turned on again. And so he told him again to turn it off. And then a few minutes later, it turned on again. It was very hot. It was the summertime. The only time I could go was because it was school. I could only go in the summertime. And so he stopped the kirtan, and he got up, like it was rocking kirtan. He stopped the kirtan, he got up, walked over to the fan. He took the end, the part that goes into the outlet. He put it on the wall. He put his foot on it and pulled it, so no one could. In my enthusiasm to tell the story, he pulled it so no one could plug it in again, and so. Everyone was just like, I was completely like, I've never been in an experience where someone like stopped the kirtan and went to do something. It was like, but I think his thinking was that he wanted to give the greatest offering for the Lord, and if anything hindered that, then he would, had to deal with that. So, and then he came back down and sat down and did the kirtan again, and like nothing had happened. He came, and that was a really amazing experience that I had, because I didn't know what he would do and things like that. But then another remembrance I have is in 2006 when I was doing Bhakti Shastri there in Vrindavan. A bunch of us went to his room, and then it got later and later at night, and somehow I was the last one left there, and I was by myself. And he said, "What are you doing here in Vrindavan?" I said, "I come to study Bhakti Shastri." And then he went and he said, why are you studying? How much are they charging you to do Bhakti Shastra? And I told him the amount and everything, and he said, that's bogus, they shouldn't, but I said, Prabhu, you know, they have papers and they have a building that they need to maintain. He said, it doesn't matter, that you shouldn't pay anybody to learn the Srimad, to learn the Shastra. You should learn it yourself, just read it yourself. And then he went on he said, let me show you. And he went on the computer and pulled out the database, and for like another hour, he talked to me about, you know, if it was me talking to like a young kid, I would just be like, okay, that's fine, you know, just do it now and everything, it's fine, you can go on your way. But he felt it's so important to, like, he didn't think of me as like a child or a kid or someone young. He just saw me as a soul and just wanted to teach me and kind of instruct me that this is what you should really be doing. And I said, well, what should I do now? He said, anyway, take the class and finish it. But next time, just do it on your own. And that was a deep instruction that I still take to this day, that I got from him. Besides that, I feel like the association I got was more from after he left. So I joined 24-hour Kirtan a month after he left. So it was a very difficult time for all the devotees there, because he had just left this world. And we all remember where we were when he left. It's kind of like when, you know, the Twin Towers went down. We all remember where we were at that very moment. And so the same thing for you know, the devotees is that we remember where we were when Aindra Prabhu left. It's a very sad time. But like days like this, we remember his teachings, we remember his activities, and we feel grateful that we know devotees that had his association, and we are able to understand and gain that inspiration from him more and more as the days go on. So this is a day where we meditate on his qualities and we meditate on his activities, and we feel grateful for what he's given this movement, that grassroots Harinam Sankirtan revolution that he preached many times. So I just feel very grateful today and thinking about his qualities. And so, Hare Krishna, thank you. Shivarayana.
He not only spoke one word to me in his presence, but he appeared to me numerous times in dreams to instruct me in my progressive advancement in spiritual life. So that's a very important illustration, example from such a personality as Aindra Prabhu, that it doesn't matter that you're one of the big wigs or early joiners or people who were around Prabhupada in a leadership position, but whoever you are, grand disciple, great grand disciple, in accord with your sincerity of purpose, you can get reciprocation. What else? Oh, there's the example of Vrindavan, Vrindavan Das. Aindra said he's my favorite Mridanga player. He's now living in California. He's about 34 years old. So he joined Aindra to full time when he was 14 years old. I don't think he graduated high school. His education was to spin around on his father's back, dancing, Bhakta Avatar. So anyway, he's sitting with Aindra in his room. He's 14 years old. It's late at night. They're finally going to take prasadam with Aindra after everything is concluded. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and Aindra's telling him that, you shouldn't think of me as like a big senior older devotee. We're actually equal as spirit souls, and let's be friends. Mm-hmm. That had such a profound effect on him. Yeah. So that was, Aindra was so generous in his giving of himself like that. Radha Krishna, the time has come for you to speak. Somebody else can hold that.
Yeah, it's Butcher's. That's when he wants all the cameras off.
Sorry, I got
Well, thank you everyone for coming. I don't know where to start. There's so much to say, but at the same time, it's like so deep in there that you don't know how to squeeze it. But I mean, I also, grew up listening to these cassettes, and I also had not the best childhood, not the best, examples growing up, Prabhu, all these things, and just like you, I would just get out of that world by listening to him, especially prayers to the Dosa branch. That was to me, little Mexican kid. We barely had computers or something like that, and listening to that was like, wow. Who is this person? Where does he do these things? Is it outside? Is he white? Is he what? Well, who is he? So all day I would just listen and then try to, what are they playing? We in Mexico, we only know. We don't know anything. Listening to that was out of this world. So for years I was doing that, no matter how my life was. Wasn't that bad one, still. So I just wanted to be there, just wanted to be part of that thing, because it felt so powerful, so real, so different from everything else. And then eventually I left when I was 16. I left Mexico, I went to Europe with my sisters, and then we went to Gur Purnima in 2005 with my sister Mohini, and then that's when I first met Aindra Prabhu, but not in Vrindavan, in Mayapur. They were there for the festival, and actually I thought Ramra Prabhu was Aindra Prabhu, because they were sitting there, they were you told me how Aindra Prabhu was gonna sing now, so you were sitting with the harmonium, and I was like, wow, that's him. I had no idea how he looked or anything.
I thought Bhagavad Puran was Aindra Prabhu first.
Yeah. So I was like, that's him. But then he came in with his harmonium, and he was so powerful, that moment, that entrance, He was there with Gopal and Vrindavan and Bhakta Greg and all the crew. So then I just sat through his kirtan, and I was shaking. I just got off the train, with my sister. We have all this, it was hot and horrible, and because I was chubby and I was sweating. There were so many material things. So then he started singing, and then that's it. I just fell in love with him, Then when he did an alap, the temple started shaking, and then I was shaking, and my heart was shaking, and I thought, I'm not going back, and I stayed, I stayed, and I didn't want to go anywhere else, because that's, somehow, my point is that what you desire will come to you, I was listening to him for years and trying to understand, what is this, what is the meaning of, when you grow up, in the movement, you have it all there, you don't come from outside, or you don't experience something that brought you here, We just had it, everything, this is what you're doing, this is your life, you're gonna go to Gurukul, this is Kirtan, this is the books, you have to do this, and we did it. But it just deepened more when I met him, because that's okay, this is what it means to be,
Prabhupada's movement. Even though like living, like being born in a devotee and growing up and listening to everything, you don't understand because you have to do it, But then you come across these such a souls and then you realize that okay, this is the point of what's written in books, what's being taught in temples. So then that's it. I went back to Vrindavan with my sister. We stayed for the Navadu Parikrama, and then I came back. And then when after his kirtan, because we came late, he was he used to rest in the pillow. In the pillar. After the kirtan and get up, and then he just looked back, and I was on the back, and then he saw me, and then he just rose his hands, like Jai. I felt like, this is it, like we were meant to meet, we were meant to I was meant to like serve him as much as I could. So then I called my mother and my father, like, I'm not going back. So they supported me and they let me stay. And I stayed there for 14 years. And I think it's important, like everyone has mentioned, that kirtan, it's not a trend, it's not a fashion, it's not something cool to do, It's I always say, like it's not enough to buy an I love kirtan t-shirt, and that's it, you're saved. You have to understand, why we're doing kirtan, It's very encouraging that the youth is doing kirtan, but they have to also understand why they're doing it, They have to have some solid, understanding of the philosophy. Why am I doing this? To please who? To do it for who? So I think it's important that we understand that kirtan is, we're doing kirtan and that's cute, but we have to do it with purity, like you said, Our kirtan without purity, what is it? Just sound,
Just a bunch of noise.
Just a bunch of noise that used to say that. So,
Good sound noise. But if you chant those shooting on, it's just a bunch of noise.
everyone talks about kirtan. What kind of kirtan are we doing? So, I always try to encourage myself, to let's go deep in what he taught us, because many people also think that, Aindra Prabhu's thing, and it wasn't Aindra Prabhu's thing, like he was a perfect example of, Prabhupada's man, it's nothing that he's like Aindraized, like it's all according to Shastra and, the Siddhanta. So, he just has his way to do it, might be different for others, might be, a little weird, or how he dressed, how he sang, blah, 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 but like, you have to focus on the main point, like, what is he doing? He's chanting, he's doing Yuga Dharma, stop pointing fingers, stop, criticizing, just do it yourself, and you will see that, it will also change your consciousness and the way you see things and the way even you dress, if you want to say it. So, we are very fortunate to have a Ramroy Prabhu here in New York. He's my wife and I always say he's our Vrindavan. He's taking to heart Aindra Prabhu's teachings, and I wish I could, somehow I'm trying to, be serious and be more, into it, but at least trying to serve as much as I can Ramroy Prabhu. And it's important that no matter backgrounds or where we come from, we do it together, as a brotherhood, we have to be united as, a family, because that's what we are, no matter that I'm this, I'm that, he's from here, it doesn't matter, those are just little things, that if we focus on that, like, oh, blah, 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 then we're gonna spend our whole life, doing that instead of like coming together and doing it, So I encourage everyone to have some time and come to Harinam, to do the needful, as he used to say. Because we all need it. We're all diseased, as he used to say. We all need the medicine. And it's there, The pharmacy is right there. You just come and take your medicine and you will get better. Stop all your ego trips, all this politics, all this nonsense, For what? You don't have time for that. Do you know when you're gonna die? It can be right now. It can be, in an hour. And what do we have in our spiritual bank account? So I think it's better to understand that we all need this, and we all need to help each other. They used to say, let's cry because we cannot cry for Krishna. Let's help each other. They used to say, why do you come for kirtan? To look pretty? Or for what, No, we have to help each other cry because we cannot cry for Krishna. So I think that's important to understand that, because we're here to help each other. And we have all the facilities, we have all the devotees, we have all the skills, we have all whatever we need, So let's utilize it. I know it's not even for ourselves. What do we want from this? Even if I end up in hell, at least we try to encourage people to take it to the streets, like he used to say. This is this life is meant for that. So why don't we give up our life? Die to live. Why don't we take this life for Prabhupada's pleasure? Is it too much to ask? We can do it. We're doing it. But it's never enough. And if we continue to do it, hopefully, eventually, we'll meet Aindra Prabhu. We'll meet him, Radhesham, and if we don't know Radhesham, you will introduce us to Radhesham, and we're gonna be dancing and chanting again in Golok Vrindavan. That's our goal, right? So please keep helping, keep coming to Varnam, keep even you can't just do it in your own community. You do it in your own living room. Doesn't matter. The point is to keep chanting, but with the understanding of why we're chanting. So thank you, Ramrod Prabhu, for being here and for understanding that. Now I know today we all need you here. New York needs you, and we're very grateful for everyone that is helping, because it's important. And Haribol.
Please remember, and I beseech you again and again, please remember, worldwide, grassroots, Harinam, Sankirtan, revolution. Haribol! Revolution means revolution. We have to turn this movement inside out, upside down, do whatever it takes to put Harinam Sankirtan back into its rightful place of dignity in the forefront of this movement. It's absolutely essential for the proper growth of this movement. In Kali Yuga, you have to, otherwise you get an undernourished child. In Kali Yuga, you have to nourish the child. And the medicine of Harinam, and medicine means proper dosage and proper frequency. Not just a token schnick, ram on the side. That's not going to get you back home, back to Godhead. It might take 700 lifetimes to get back home, back to Godhead in that way. In Kali Yuga, you got to get fired up. Every one of you, chanting and dancing from the heart, like you really mean it. So you can even think, you can even hope to go back home, back to Godhead in one lifetime. It's not a joke. It's the real thing. And to distill it all down, these words distills my whole life down those last 9 years. Do Harinam Sankirtan on the streets. Street kirtan. Public kirtan. Like in Florida, Publix, go to the Publix, right? The groceries. On the streets of all the major cities for as many hours a day as possible, every day, and you'll get there. Back home, back to Godhead. I guarantee it. Not that I guarantee it, Lord Chaitanya guarantees it, and all the acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada. It's the right thing to do. If your guru or temple president tells you not to perform the Yuga Dharma, then I'm sorry. He's not your guru, and he's not your temple president, because he's not representing Adi Guru, Lord Nityananda, who opened up the marketplace by freely distributing the holy name. So he's telling devotees who were at a retreat in Varshanadam with Mahanidhi Swami. So after this, you're coming back to the festival. You're coming back to the temple during the festival. For me, the festival never ends. But I'll be there during the rest of the so-called festival. There's 24-hour kirtan going on anyway, all the time. You can join. And but I'm doing my regular slot, and then again I'll be on at 8:30, going to 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, at least to the end of the so-called festival. For me, the festival never ends. That's what Radha Shyama-Sundar want for you. Every day a festival. If you're chanting and dancing in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, it means that you've understood the philosophy. And if you're not chanting and dancing in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, it means you simply haven't understood the philosophy. Haribol. So it's just wonderful how Lord Chaitanya, Radha Shyama-Sundar, all the acharyas, pure devotees, they've made this arrangement to perform Harinam Sankirtan as the best way for our individual ascension to the highest position, and at the same time, the best thing to do for everyone else. Lord Chaitanya, Chapter 9, Adi Leela, the gardener of the tree of devotional service. A man must perform welfare activities for others with his body, mind, and words. So, Aindra would say, no more Hare Krishna phobia, please. You know, I'm averse to being a Hare Krishna in public. You know, what are people going to think of me? You know, it should be the other way around. That we should make people who want to be non-devotees and karmis, so to speak, they should feel embarrassed and want to hide that, and they should try to dress as devotees so they would fit in. Not that we dress as the non-devotees so we fit in. You have to make it opposite. May this cassette serve to remind you of Vrindavan, the perfect place to lead a spiritually progressive life. It is the home of Lord Krishna, as well as the home of his pure devotees who know the meaning of unalloyed devotion. In this dark age of quarrel, such rarely achieved devotion, self-realization, and God-realization, Krishna consciousness, are greatly facilitated by the natural yet simple method of singing these sweet names of the Lord congregationally. Always live in Vrindavan, at least mentally, and happily absorb your thoughts in the delightful pastimes of Krishna, constantly chanting Mahamantra. Aindra was a great champion to remember stay in Vrindavan. You have the experience of leaving. Why are you leaving? You got to stay here. So I would get that a lot. And actually Gopal, British son Gopal told me that he was in, I would always say goodbye to Aindra before going to the taxi in the airplane. And one year Aindra said, after I left, he said to Gopal, Ram always got a taste for preaching in the West. Or a rasa, just the word rasa. I really respect that. So the idea of Prabhu Dash, you're going to the place designated to you by the spiritual master and the Lord, is very, very important. And within that, just Prabhupada right, but wait to try him, my dear Lord, tricking him that this is actually Shantipur, but it's actually the back. Wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. So that is our determination. I remember listening to Rasik Mohan, some of the conceptual presentations you were making, why we're establishing the Bhakti Bhavan ashram up there in Ellenville, and they didn't have to have a place outside here, and also you're American, I'm American. Method of acquiring present nationality. Bob, that popped out of my mama's tummy. Oh, very exalted qualification. Please remain in our country, So, ultimately, the Lord wants his movement spread everywhere, in every nook and corner, in every town and village. And so we take that up. I don't know myself, I believe also you, Rasik Mohan Prabhu, you had so much opportunity to be in Vrindavan, being with your spiritual master, and kind of like that investment or blessing upon you, now show your gratitude by distributing it to others who have no opportunity. When we go out on Harinam, unless we go out on Harinam, these people have no chance. That's how serious it is. The greatest opulence of the Lord, not Sadaishvarya Purna, strength, wealth, knowledge, renunciation, etc., but his greatest opulence is that he relies on his devotees to accomplish tasks that he wants accomplished. That is the highest expression of personalism. So, as I was saying earlier, is that we're in this body, we're in this life, Prabhupada writes in the Back to Godhead magazine in the 1940s, I'm going back to Godhead just after leaving this present body, and I wish to take all my contemporary men and women of this world with me. Said Radha Krishna. That Aindra's a Pujari. He didn't say who had a dream. And he reported this to Aindra, and this is why Aindra stands on the veracity of his statement that I'm going back home, back to Godhead after leaving this life, and anyone who's assisted me, and to join Krishna in the Rasa dance, and anyone who's assisted me in this life will also come with me. We qualified it, but I'm not waiting for you to get it together. We have to individually get it together. We have to fly our own plane. So, Narada Muni is visiting Radha Shyama-Sundar, this is the dream, in Vrindavan, in Goloka Vrindavan. And Radha Shyama-Sundar are hearing Aindra Prabhu's kirtan in the 24-hour kirtan with all of us there. And they question Narada Muni, who is that singing so sincerely from the heart. In Martya Loka, the worlds of repeated birth and death. And Narada Muni, see, they were saying grand disciple, great grand disciple, Narada Muni says, that is my disciple. Aindra, but once you accept initiation into this glorious sampradaya, all the spiritual masters, all in line, can lay claim to you. That is my disciple, Aindra Das, they say. He should come here and chant for us here. And everyone who's helping him, they should come too. And Aindra's few words here about the potency and value of coming together, congregational, of all that is to be taught and all that is to be learned. Chaitanya Bhagavat says the culmination of all is the congregational chanting of the holy name. Where many devotees, and Aindra would say, where as many devotees as possible come together to chant the holy name. And that's how we have the greatest impact on the public. You know, just go out there with 2 or 3, 4 or 5 of us, ramshackle, but we go out there with like 25, 40, 50, 100, thousands of devotees. We make very serious impact and dent in the illusory energy. The 24-hour kirtan was inaugurated and is sustained by the express will of His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada, its purpose is to help generate a pure, spiritually surcharged atmosphere to strengthen everyone's commitment to the advancement of devotional life. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. Our only real goal is Braja Krishna Prema. We're keeping body and soul together to facilitate this aim only. Hare Krishna. So, should we go over time and have more people speak? Where is our Nantabar Garunga? I want him to say something.
Kitchen.
Please get him to come from his kitchen religion. Toda Gopinath, you were on the kirtan party.
I was.
You was. Would you like to say something?
No, I was briefly, so I'm not that significant. That's not about Kamranga.
Oh, you, okay. Just say something.
No. That's great.
Anyone can have some questions for Prabhu. Amara.
What is it that makes chanting pure?
What makes chanting pure with it, you can answer that in many different ways, but following the instructions of the spiritual master without malinterpretation, that is pure. Prabhupada said, pure devotional service means following the instructions of the spiritual master. That's my simple answer to that. So we have here Nantabar Garunga Das, who came in March of 2013, some 8 long years ago, as you were a senior or a junior in the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor.
It was my 4th year, and I
4th
was going
year.
into my 5th year.
5th year. Oh my God. When did that end? And he was brought here by Deva Madhava Prabhu with 2 other illustrious and exceptional devotees who were Bhaktins at the time, later to become Madhavi and Falguni Radhika. And Nantabar Garunga, upon seeing the Harinam, which is in March, and we were like in the subways, maybe we got a day or 2 in Union Square, said, this is what I want to dedicate the rest of my life to. You know, I think you'd only been to New York as a kid to see the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I never
So here he is, 8 years later, as the Nunciation of New York City.
Yeah, like when Radha Krishna and Bhima Karma were talking about hearing Aindra's Prabhu's albums and like blowing their mind, the same thing happened to me. I was listening to all kinds of different music, and then I remember when Deva Madhava gave me one of his CDs, because Deva Madhava had come and visited Ram Roy Prabhu, did kirtan here, and like kind of Ramar Prabhu really introduced him to Aindra, and so he brought it back, and I like put it in my car, and that was like the only thing playing in my car, and it was Prayers to the Dust of the Braj, and that, especially that first track is like has so much like stuff going on. It was like just amazing for my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. I thought Hare Krishna was like Hare Krishna, and like that was the only thing, but which I was also listening to that a lot. But there's two things that I would say. One thing that has really helped me that Aindra Prabhu said, he said that authority does not constitute truth, truth constitutes authority. And so probably in the most difficult parts of my short time in Krishna consciousness have been definitely saved because of that statement. And then, even though I was like a new bhakta, Ramana Prabhu gave me Aindra Prabhu's book, and so I ended up reading it, and there's a lot of like really heavy stuff, really deep stuff and everything, and I didn't even know what the Sanskrit words really meant especially when I first tried to read it. But there's one statement that I wanted to read, and it's in the last section when he's talking more about Harinam, and talking about his love for Gaur Nitai. And it's just a statement that's really struck me and has stuck with me. Let's see if I can find it. It's just saying like, Gaur Nitai, you're my everything. Yeah, like that. But I want to read exactly what he says. Yeah, it is. Let me see if I search that, it'll come up.
Is this?
Yeah, that one. Okay, so before I read that, Bhagavat Prana Prabhu always posts every year Aindra Prabhu's favorite food preps, so I just want to read off what we cooked today. We're going to the feast, and then I'll read this other statement.
Hot chili pakoras.
We have hot jalapeno chili pakoras, fried karela, papadums, corn on the cob, fried eggplant with curds and tomato sauce, khichdi with pumpkin and spinach and sweet potatoes, of course rice and dal. Everyone, everything. Hot mustard sauce, kushundi, orange halva with the orange peels put in, and cranberries, some potato chips with masala, and fruit salads of like his favorite fruits, which are papaya, honeydew melon, watermelon, lychee fruit, dried figs, pears, and his favorite was also chico, but it's hard to get chico in New York. My Sachi Sutta, my Prananath, there is no one more dear to me than you. Let us always stay with each other through thick and thin, and keep each other company. Please don't deprive me of your all delightful association. Please always stay with me and never ever abandon me. Kindly let me always have you and you always have me, and I always dearly love you and you always dearly love me too. I have none other than you. Without you, I have no one. Please don't let anyone, even in a dream, ever take you away from me. May my heart ever recall your indescribably captivating countenance, your enchanting gestures, and your truthful, reassuring words of love to me in the privacy of my own dreams. Please let me never, even for a moment, ever forget you, since my beloved Srila Prabhupada revealed to me the enchantment of your sublime personality. I have cherished an indelible desire to, in an eternal, unhindered spiritual body, forever serve the dust of your lotus feet. And then he describes how he wants to help the Sankirtan movement, but it's a very beautiful statement, especially considering the intense way that he actually left his body. The room was ripped everything out of oxygen, and then he was just paying obeisance to Sachi Sutta as the last thing in his life. So, anyways, that's Aindra Prabhu is definitely. Without him, I wouldn't be in Krishna consciousness or have any service, or gone to meet Ram Rai Prabhu or do anything. So I'm definitely forever indebted and forever grateful for him. And someone said that, or I've heard many times, he said that anyone that that helps me in this. There's some pujari or someone had a dream. Maybe Aindra Prabhu had a dream.
You said that.
Yeah,
Said that.
yeah. So that's I'm very hopeful if I can do a little bit of help that he can help take all of us, take me back to Godhead, so we can all have a relationship like this with Nitai Sachi Sutta and Radhe Shyam.
A little historical reference that we started this in 2012, and here we're situated. We're sitting in the Radha Govinda Mandir. So the Radha Govinda Mandir was not available for the Harinam party to take residence in. So we had to live here, there, and everywhere, and that is a great story. You know? Give you the willies, make your hair stand. Bhima could give detail of one particular chapter of that saga. I think in the last 9 years I've lived, if you count the Bhakti Center, I lived in 3 different places in the Bhakti Center. I lived in 5E before it was converted into Bhagavat Life. I lived in 6W, and there was a temporary time when they were renovating the 6th floor. We were living in 3W, the back of the temple room, for 3 months. So, and then other places all around, maybe like 7 or 8 different places with rents of $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, and the culmination was paying $7,000 a month to stay in one place. So now, just as Aindra was saying that the 24-hour Kirtan is the life and soul of the Krishna Balaram Mandir to encourage the entire devotional community. So the deities, they don't go out of the temple. Maybe Jagannath, we want to get to a Jagannath back here, that's another, and going to tie from Toronto. One devotee who's a real New Yorker, but he had been away and he didn't know the story, and he was told that, you know, Radha Govinda in Brooklyn just years ago, and you know, Gorney Thai in New Jersey. Well, it's a good thing Gorney Thai are so merciful. And Lord Jagannath in Baltimore? I've never even heard of Baltimore. What is that? Like a small town or something? They don't have to come back. So, but the Lord leaves the temple in the form of his holy name. Kali Kalir Dam Nam Rup Avatar. And the holy name is the most merciful incarnation of the Lord. Like that. So the holy name and the deities and the core temple devotees should all be packed up together. So now, you know, I remember we were living in Pitt Street, you know, this little like, you know, pre-war walk-up tenement, like in the Lower East Side across the street where New York City housing projects. I came back one night, the whole street is quadrant off with police. What's going on? We have a hostage situation. Somebody's got somebody, family at gunpoint, and drug addicts running around. There was a Puerto Rican shakedown street where all drunks, all like yelling and screaming all day. And there was a guy called Crazy Jerry who was like out of his mind. He would run around with his pants half hanging down, you know. And Dina Bandhu somehow was there that, you know, we were holding this ceremony there. It was like hot like anything, no air conditioning. So here we are in this beautiful, we're in Radha Govinda's temple, and we're very much encouraged and inspired now that things are going to expand more and more. So, like that. So I think we've gone quite over time. I want to apologize to anybody who wanted to speak who didn't get an opportunity. Maybe next time we should start this earlier. We want to do Harinam today also, and also for the feast. If not, the Bhargaranga is going to give us directions on how that's going to happen.
We're serving the feast out in the Balaram Hall, which is like on the other side, so we can go to the restaurant and go left. And yeah, that's the next part of the program now. Wish everyone out. Thank you all for coming. And after this, there'll be Harinam in Washington Square Park from 3 till 7. I don't know if we'll be able to get there at 3 exactly, but it'll go to at least 7. So please, 3-ish till 7. 3-ish till 7. Hare Krishna.
That's so cool.
Please take some Original cassette.
Is it collected? Is it $10? $100 each.
I don't know, please.
I have. You got it? Yeah. 108.
Only if I still had my Acura Integra full.
That's great.
Wow.
It's like that 80. I had it in the past, but now I How do you play like this?
How do you play it?
Yeah. ¿Has visto el buruburu?
Original. Unfortunately, I don't have a tape player, but I'll just.
I have one and two.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro.
7 days.